Why, hello there. After my previous run of blowing myself up with holy righteousness, I decided to take it easy this time around. For this challenge run, I'm going to be using the Pocket Rocket. Whoops, give me a sec. There it is, the Glintstone Chris. Now why do I call it the Pocket Rocket, you may ask? Well, it's a small dagger that weighs as much as a seal, and it packs a damn punch with its Ash of War. It's called a Glintstone Dart, but it's anything but a Glintstone Dart. With the amount of buffs you can put on magic damage, and the fact that magic is pretty damn OP in this game, it's anything but a dart. It's a magic cannon. Also, the fact that you can charge the Ash of War really helps this thing out. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be rocking for this challenge run. And before I start, it's time to lay out some simple rules. My main damage source has to be from the Glintstone Darts, so I can't use its follow-up attack that sends me across continents. Seriously, look at that distance. I heard that this thing is very good for PvP. And one last thing, my health can't be over 500. Honestly, not much of a detriment for me, but it's something. Honestly, the health rule kinda doesn't matter because I'm gonna be at low health for a majority of the fights. And if you're a good old From Software fan, you know exactly what that means with that low health. The good old RTSR strats. Now, one last thing before I start. These videos take a chunky amount of time to record and edit, so it'd be much appreciated if you liked and comment for the algorithm. You'd be doing me quite a solid if you do. Also, if you're a fan who watches my videos, sorry this one took so long to come out. I was a little too preoccupied playing Helldivers 2, so sorry about that. And one last also, the Elden Ring DLC is finally coming out, and I can't wait for that. This is Warnock Gamer 4, and make sure to sit back, relax, and or listen as I beat the game with the Glintstone Chris Ash of War. Anyways, that's enough yapping, and it's time to begin the run. Alright, to start off, I need to spawn the weapon in. Getting it normally would require me to do Celine's quest line, and because of how far in the game it requires me to complete it, I'm spawning it in right now. In its current state, there's a lot for it to be desired, but I'm gonna go fix that quickly. So now it's time to buy and start collecting those somber smithing stones. For now, I'm leaving the Glintstone Chris at +6. Now it's time to farm a big rolling ball for a bit. And that's because the damage of the first part of the Ash of War scales off of intelligence. Now the weapon is looking pretty well improved, but it can be better. Now it's time to go pick up the Faith Knot Crystal Tier, along with the Intelligent Knot Crystal Tier. Then I pick up Golden Vow at the Corpse Stench Shack, one of the most generous of buffs, time-wise at least. Then the Haligtree to further increase my damage at the cost of my defense. Then the Ruler's Mask in order to increase my Faith by 1. Pick up the Two Fingers Heirloom for a +5 to Faith. Then to the Red Main Castle in order to farm some Commoner's Garb. I'm using these Faith boost items in order to reach the requirements for me to use the buffs. The Garb adds a +1 to Faith, which is of use for me right now. Also, I got the Withered Straight Sword here while farming these Commoners. And because I'm going to be rocking a good amount of Faith and Intelligence, I pick up the Golden Order Seal. It weighs nothing, and I meet the requirement stats. That's pretty much the only reason why I picked it up. Now I level up my intelligence a bit further, and now this magic missile is starting to pack quite a punch. But of course there's still room for improvement. Oh yeah, this is still just the beginning. It's now time to head towards the Tree near the Frenzy Flame Tower, in order to take out the tree avatar here, which drops the Magic Shrouded Crack tier. And because I can only use 2 crystal tiers in my Physik, I'm replacing the Faith Knot tier. Alas, it had a good run, like a whole 10 minutes. But that also means I need to start leveling up my Faith in order to actually buff myself. Up next, I head into the Academy Crystal Cave, where I very heavily underestimated how many Glintstone Darts it was going to take to stagger these bosses. By the time I took down one, I realized that I ran out of blue Kool-Aid, so it's time to head back and do this again. And after increasing the amount of blue flasks to use, I eventually take them down with a whole lot of magic spam. And as a reward, I get the Terra Magica, which is a sigil that I place on the ground which increases my magic damage. And now it's time to use all of this against the Godskin Tubs of Fun here at the Volcano Manor. Right now the damage is not good, but at the same time it's not bad either. But there is still so much to do and collect in order to improve its damage. But for right now, Godskin Tubby faces the immature version of the Pocket Rocket. With the Godskin Noble down, in the next area I pick up Royal Knight's Resolve, along with the 7th Somber Smithing Stone. which was the only little wall that was preventing me from using the somber 8 and 9 smithing stone. Now the glintstone Chris is up to +9. Next up, I go and fight Godfrey. The only reason why I fought him was to get the Godfrey icon, which increases the damage of charged spells in Ash of War. Next up, I went to go check if the dream was still alive with the Royal Knight's Resolve, which, spoiler alert, they patched it a long time ago. I was just being hopeful here. No Royal Knight's Resolve cheese. Now with everything that I picked up, it being pretty much the best that I can do right now, I headed to the Murkwater Cave in order to deal with patches real quick, just so I could buy Margit's Shackle. And after a small level up, it's now time to buff myself up, quick swap a talisman, and now it's time to fight against Margit. And by fight, I mean absolutely delete him. It wasn't a one-shot, but it was pretty damn satisfying. He's killed so many new players that I took it upon myself to destroy him, for the pain that he has caused. But of course, this encounter and the damage could have been better. So now it's time to pick up more stuff, such as the Bloody Slash here, which will be used to reduce my HP. And now it's time to head back to Volcano Manor in order to farm the Black Dumpling Helm. This bad boy only has a 0.5% chance of dropping, but provides a 10% increase to damage for 60 seconds when my character is inflicted with madness. And because I'm going to be using the Haligtree a lot, it pairs perfectly with it. With that surprisingly only 20-minute farm, it's now time for me to head into the Water Cave, which was surprisingly not that difficult to traverse for me. But I did die to the bosses here. And the only thing annoying about failing at the end is having to traverse through all the annoying poison again. And in this second time, I don't make mistakes. I just bring death via pocket rockets. And with the 2 Krill guys defeated, I get the Kindred of Rot Exaltation. This increases my damage up by 20% for 20 seconds if something gets poisoned near me. And what better way to cause that by poisoning myself with fetid pots. And with this new talisman obtained, I go pick up another new talisman. With the death of the Death Bird here, I get the Red Feathered Branch Sword talisman. This increases my damage by 20% when my health is at 20% or less. Next up, I 2-shot another Death Bird to get the Twin Bird Kite Shield, which works pretty much the same as a Red Feathered Branch Sword, except it provides me a 5% increase to damage. It's not a lot, but it's something though. Now I believe it's time for me to go inside the Stormveil Castle and talk to Roger for a bit, then proceed to demolish pretty much everything inside of the castle. No creature shall be spared from the wrath of the pocket rockets. Except for Godric, because he decided to survive with a sliver of health each time I attempted him. Seriously, I wanted him to die in just 3 hits. But no, From Software wanted to increase their defense whenever they're transitioning to phase 2. I ended up killing him after a 4th shot, but I was not satisfied with that, so I decided to save and quit. But it was too late for me, as the game decided to just give me the victory. Now I'll never have the pleasure of 3-shotting him. With Godric's disappointing defeat over, it's time to do Roger's quest, where of course it sends me into some spooky ass catacombs in order to find death. Aside from the skelly surprise, getting the black knife print was easy. And after giving Roger the knife print, he tells me to head over to the Carrion Manor in order to meet up with Ronnie. The only real obstacle here was Royal Knight Loretta, but as you can see, she wasn't very much one. And after agreeing to work with Ronnie, I can finally get Roger's armor set. This Spellblade set increases the damage of magic dealing Ash of War by 2% by piece. And because there's 4 pieces of armor, the damage of my Glintstone Dart increases by 8%. Oh yeah, it's all coming together, but I still need more buffs. So it's time to do Vare's questline, which requires me to invade a poor NPC here, and put a bit of ketchup on a napkin. Afterwards, he uses his force power in order to rip out one of my fingernails. With all said and done, I use this medal that he gave me, which he explicitly told me not to use. And I do it right in front of his face. Screw you, Vare. And through all that, I now have early access to Mogwin's Palace, which means I can now take advantage of all the benefits here, such as this somber dragonsmithing stone, this much more effective rune farming spot, and another piece of armor that's gonna buff my damage up. This one increases my attack power by 10% for 20 seconds whenever bleed procs. Unfortunately, I don't have the Ash Award that allows me to do that to myself, so I'm going to be collecting dust for a bit. Also, because I have the Three Sisters location open, now's the opportunity to get the Magic Scorpion Charm. For that talisman, I need to do Celavis's questline, which is very easy to do, as I just need to do a favor for him and then buy his puppets. Then pester him a bit till he tells me to collect the Amber Starlight Shard. And after giving it to him, he rewards me with the Magic Scorpion Charm. He's also a bit of a creeper, making the rims of our hats touch. Now then, it's time to finalize the Glintstone Chris's upgrade. Gonna make a little quick detour to the abandoned cave that's filled with all this rotten shite. The only reason why I'm here is to get the Golden Scarab that increases the amount of runes I get for defeating an enemy. And with the Yellow Beetle Boy obtained, it's now time to farm like crazy. Good thing this pocket rocket just penetrates right through enemies. It really makes farming these Albinarics very fast. And with that, I level up my vigor for the final time, and in my intelligence. And with all that done and obtained, it's now time to get the second great rune of the run. Which this time around is gonna be Radon. And let me tell you, I did not have a good time trying to buff inside of the battle arena. And worst yet, I beat Radon, but I didn't bloody record. So yeah, when I was able to buff up and everything, the fight went pretty well and he didn't even get off the ground to do his meteor attack. Now with Radon defeated, I gained access to the underground, so it's time to take care of my mimic real quick. Go and obtain the Finger Slayer blade for Ronnie. The only real reason why I'm doing this is so that I have easy access to the river main area of the game. And why would I want to go into this area, you might ask? It's because I want to head to the Lake of Rot. Here at the Lake of Rot, we have Miyazaki's most favorited of creations, which is the insta-death googly eye lizards, and rot as far as the eye can see. Don't you just love this toxic substance? The main focus of visiting this place is to get the Mushroom Crown, and it works exactly like the Kindred of Rock's exaltation. Proccing poison or rot gives me the damage boost, and thank the Lord the buffs stack. Anyways, after barely getting across the Lake of Rot, I recuperate for a bit, and with some of the new talismans and buffs that I got, I absolutely melted Draconic Tree Sentinel. The poor thing got two-shotted. Now it's time to head right into the capital, where first I visit the sewer area of the game, then head into the Lindell Catacombs in order to get the talisman version of the White Mask, which was a bit annoying to get because the boss here has two dogs along with him, and the NPC boss himself was very much capable of just easily dodging my pocket rocket. The only way I was able to attack him is whenever he'd do a proper animation such as casting a spell or attacking. And after getting what I wanted inside of that disgusting place, I quickly take care of Phantom Godfrey with just 2 shots of my pocket rocket. Seriously, the amount of buffs I can put on this little thing is absolutely incredible. Now before I went to fight the next boss of the area, I wanted to test out whether or not it's worth using health regen to counteract the deadly poison of defeated pots. Which, fun fact, it's too costly, so it wasn't. So that means I had to find a different way to counter the health loss. Because the last thing I want in a boss fight is dying due to my own poison. And the best way to do that is to deal with the bell-bearing hunter here at the outskirts of Lindell. Easy to take down with this build, but that's of course if I don't accidentally end myself. Or his extendo blade, which can kill me while I'm on the grace. With the hunter defeated, I get the medicine peddler's bell-bearing. And that gives me infinite access to these anti-poison boluses. Now I don't have to worry about reaching a loading screen due to poison. Alright Morgoth, let's see how tanky you are. Not very much. And after safely deleting Morgoth, he calls me a fool. Then I give him a good old pocket rocket to the face. Then unfortunately I fail a jump on my way to the Forbidden Lands. I don't even think this path is the fastest way over there, but I like it. And now that I have access to the mountaintop of the giants, I can finally get the Ash Award that will allow me to activate my bleeding buffs. Also, at this point of the game, now nearly every enemy can now one-shot me. But all that means is that I have to be extra careful now. Now before fighting Fire Giant, I was just checking out which order I should activate my buffs, which for the rest of the run is pretty much going to be a bloody slash to lower my health. Next up, I drive myself insane with madness, then poison myself, quickly cure the poison, then activate blood loss. Of course I'm going to be swapping through armor pieces to get the appropriate buff from the procs. And now after collecting a few more pots for self-poison, along with progressing Alexander's questline, it is now time to fight against Fire Giant, which at the very start I distanced myself in order to activate buffs. And once he attacks, I put down the Terra Magica and then start blasting. And once that's all done, it's now time for the onslaught to begin. Poor Fire Giant, that's pretty much the fastest I've ever beaten him. From when I started attacking him to his death was about 40 seconds. Also, I pocket rocketed him in the crotch, and that does not sound like a pleasant experience. With Fire Giant done, I now take a nap as a woman burns herself, and now dye my way through for Ramazula. Get the Feathers Cookbook for Sleeping Pot, and at the end of this first section, it's time to fight the Godskin Noble and Apostle. Once the Godskin duo are put to sleep, I can just safely buff myself up. After buffing myself up, I just started panicking and shooting my pocket rocket. I should have done it on the opposite side of where I was in order to hit them both at the same time. I underestimated the sleeping pot a little too much and just started blasting. And with that, the duo was quickly taken care of. I end myself due to that shameful display. And now I make my way to where Alexander is stationed at. And after quickly taking him down, I get the Shard of Alexander, which increases the damage of my skills by 15%. You'll be missed, great jar buddy. And now with all these buffs, I absolutely demolish the enemy. But that's of course if I don't screw up the chain. Also, I need to be a bit quicker in changing talismans and armor pieces. Some of my buffs are running out due to duration. Because of how short some of the buffs are, they run out before I get full use of them. And I'm pretty sure that's caused by my inexperience of going through the menu quick enough. Not all my enemies are going to wait patiently for me to buff up. Fortunately for me, the Draconic Tree Sentinel here was actually quite polite. And now he's gone. Moving forward, it's now time to fight Maliketh. And for him, I quickly initiate the fight and then save and quit. I'm doing this so at the start of the fight, he just quickly runs right towards me. It also allows me to shoot a quick glintstone dart at the beginning. In this part, I've reset quite a couple of times because I just wanted to one-shot him to second phase. In order to do this, I need to be quick with my gear change to actually pull it off. Well, not only that, but he also has to come running at me. And sometimes he just decides to take a stroll towards me instead of just rushing me. It's really annoying to have to buff up for a minute and a half and then realizing that it doesn't work out at the end. Just because the boss decided to take a lovely stroll instead of running towards me. And after a good amount of retries, I was finally able to take him to phase 2 with just one shot. And once I regain control of my character, I just shoot out 2 uncharged shots and he goes down. The fight lasted about 27 seconds, and I had to retry like 8 damn times. And also he was able to kill me one time because he decided to just survive with 1 HP. With the big furry down, now I think it's a good time to start getting the secret medallions. So that means back into Castle Sol and quickly taking care of Nile here. and that gives us access to one piece of the medallion. And the other piece is here with an old man in the village of the Albinaurics. And now that gives me access to the consecrated snowfield, where without a doubt, everything here can one-shot me. The good news though is that I can one-shot them back. My enemies shall fear the big girthy pocket rocket. I haven't really been paying attention to it much, but the range on this thing is pretty damn good. This place would have been extra dangerous were it not for the glintstone Chris. Also, I had to fight Loretta here again, but she was pretty easy to take down. Gotta love me the pocket rocket. The fight lasted about 22 seconds, and I ended up dying once. Seriously, this thing just deletes problems away. Especially the annoying kindred enemies. I really just hate everything about them. Now that I have access to Malenia, I now head into the Ash capital to fight Gideon. While buffing myself in an attempt to one-shot him, I accidentally ended myself in the most dishonorable way. I forgot that I swapped out the location of my gear. But in the next attempt I got him good though. You're not the only one that could spam magic here, Gideon. I hope that you liked the taste of your own medicine. Also, he dropped this scepter, which I'm gonna occasionally be using. It debuffs my enemy's holy and magic defense by 10% for 60 seconds. It's quite a nice little bonus extra damage. And while I'm still here, I should keep on going forward. And now it's time to face the actual Godfrey. Here I screwed up a few times trying to make everything fall into place. Let me tell you, it's not easy trying to obliterate the enemy. Seriously, small mistakes are fatal and take quite a while to recover from. And for me, it's a whole lot of loading screen and having to recast all my buffs again. But once everything worked out, I didn't give him much of a chance to fight back. In just 2 shots, he was down to his second phase. In this phase, it just took 1 shot for him to buff himself. And afterwards, it just took 2 more to end him. The fight lasted about 53 seconds. I ended up dying like 3 times, and I had to restart like about 5 times. With Mr. Muscle down, I do believe it's time to fight Malenia. And during the first attempt while testing the water, I realized that the glintstone dart actually has a very good amount of tracking. It's very good at following her. With this info, I save and quit. Unfortunately die in my second attempt. I also get paper shredded in my third attempt. And now here in the fourth is when the real fight begins. Because of where she is at the start of the boss fight, at the entrance I just buffed myself, just as I did when fighting against Godfrey. And now it's just time for me to poke her with my magic missile. Near the end of phase 1, I buff myself again. And as she attempts to Scarlet Aeonia me in the second phase, I easily dodge it, put down a sigil, and then just start shooting. I absolutely love the insane amount of damage this thing does. And there you go, she goes down in about 2 minutes, and I ended up only dying 2 times with about like 3 restarts. It feels absolutely great to be overpowered. Look at me. I look like a damn clown, but I pack an absolute punch with the pocket rocket. It's time to fight the final boss. Oof, this is gonna be a bitch and a half, isn't it? And right I was, because Radagon's the only one that can bitch slap away my pocket rocket. Being at minuscule health against the Elden Beast was not a good idea, so I made a little quick detour to the Lux Ruins to get the Ritual Sword Talisman, which gives me a buff if I'm at full health. If I just get nicked by a little bit, I'll just die. Also, any wrong step would just lead me to the loading screen. And don't get me started about the holy spam of the Elden Beast. And that's especially true about the Elden Star that he shoots out. You see, why can't it be that effective against our enemies? It works out for him, but not for us, huh? And after a few more tries here and there, it's now time to fight the boss seriously this time. Even though I kind of already was, but you get the idea. It's time to beat the boss. So here I go, just stacking buff after buff. And now it's time to destroy Radagon in a few hits. With the he/she defeated, it's time to reapply some buffs. Or honestly just a buff, which was Golden Vow. Then quickly debuff the Elden Beast. And now it's time to start blasting. And once his health gets into one off, I drink my health flask, because I do not want to get one-shotted by the Elden Stars. And also when it comes out, it means it's time to run away. The fight against the Elden Beast turned into a very normal fight. At this point, I couldn't go crazy with the boss because of how long it took to recast him. Not gonna lie, I feel like I got bloody lucky here with the dodging. All this fighting took about 3 minutes and 47 seconds. I ended up dying 11 times, and the deaths were pretty much split even between Radagon and the Elden Beast. And that's pretty much it, folks. I beat the game with the Pocket Rocket. Or more specifically, the Glintstone Chris with the Glintstone Dart Ash of War. This video was much shorter than I thought it was going to be, especially since in-game time-wise, this was pretty close to my previous video. But I can see why though, because I spent most of the time collecting stuff to make the run work. And as for the run itself, it was pretty fun aside from the running around. It wasn't much of a one-shot build, but it was pretty close. At least that's the way I felt it. Well, this has been WarnightGamer4. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the bell notification for alerts when I post a new video. And thanks for watching this video and my previous videos if you have as well. Later.